With this session of the Delaware legislature behind us, we want to check in with Governor Jack Markell for a look at the state of the state at the mid-year point. So good to see you, Governor.
Great to be with you.
You know, before we get to the issues of what's going on in Dover, I do want to get your take on the events that have occurred in Baton Rouge, St. Paul, and in Dallas. You know, what's your take on all of these police shootings?
Well, look, I mean, first of all, the on both sides, tragic loss of life, and I have reached out here in Delaware, certainly talked to many of the leaders of the police agencies to make sure that they know of our support, and also talked to leaders in the African American community as well about the importance of us all working together, you know, across the state. I mean, this is an issue that has been with us you know, for a long time, that we have to continue to figure out better ways for us all to work together.
Why do you think it's all just sort of bubbling up all at once right now? Is it just a long time brewing and now it's just coming to a head?
I'm not sure I can answer that, but what I do know is that we have a responsibility, certainly, you know, me in my position, but I think all of us working together, to remember that we really are all in this together, that we are stronger when we're working together. And I think that's just a responsibility that we all have.
Now, the Dallas police chief had said we are asking too much of police. With your conversations with the agencies here in Delaware, have you heard that sort of sentiment being echoed?
No, I think, you know, the police agencies in Delaware are very proud of the work that they do. They recognize how important it is. I think generally they feel supported by the communities with which they work. And so I think, you know, again, sort of my job, and I think the more that we can bring communities together to have, to develop relationships, personal relationships, so that they can speak with each other, so that when tough times emerge, they can have those direct conversations. I think that's what will make it better off.
So do you think this is just an issue of, you know, I guess we can't just simplify and say, well, this is an issue of gun control, or this is an issue of racial disparity in the criminal justice system. Can you pinpoint it to one sort of thing, or?
I don't think so. I mean, I've had many conversations. A couple years ago, I had, maybe a year and a half ago, I had probably 15 young African-American leaders in the state into my office. And many of them, you know, talked about the challenges that they had sort of, you know, when they were walking down the street, minding their own business, some of the challenges that they have had interacting with law enforcement. At the same time, I mean, when we send our, you know, troopers or other police officers out to do their job, we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can so that they're safe. And so I think these are really difficult issues, unfortunately, and I think the only way that we're going to get through them is when we all work together, and we understand that we all have a stake in making sure our communities are as safe as they can possibly be.
Do you think the body cameras being worn by police officers will help change this dynamic in any way, or help mitigate things?
I think they certainly have that potential, and I think many of the police agencies in Delaware have been supportive because, again, they're proud of the work that they do, and I think you know, the more transparency often the better. I mean, I think there are a number of policy issues with respect to privacy when they walk into somebody's house and the like, you know, how they're used and how the information gets out there. There are a lot of issues to be discussed, but I think it's a positive step.
In Dallas, it looks like it was just, you know, the one man responsible for killing those 5 officers, and so how difficult is it, and maybe this is something you've talked with our agencies, but how difficult is it to track suspects where it's just that one person?
Well, I think it's incredibly difficult. We've seen that there. We've seen it in San Bernardino. We've seen this, you know, in many places around the country. And so I think when when we think about our families who send their loved one off to do their work in a particular day as an officer, we have to remember they're putting themselves at risk every single day.
Okay, so we've talked about some heavy stuff. Want to talk about now the wrap-up of the legislature, and you know, were you satisfied with the way things ended?
I was satisfied on many fronts. I mean, I think a lot of the stuff that I talked about in the State of the State early on, some of the important initiatives we were able to get done. For example, we made a really important change in the way that corporate income taxes are calculated to make Delaware more competitive. We were really, frankly, uncompetitive with surrounding states and many states around the country. We passed a provision to make investments in research and development more competitive, more attractive to do financially in Delaware than elsewhere. One of the best states in the country now, and we think when we talk about building an innovation economy for the future, that's really important. I'll be signing this bill today. It's around making sure that those who have been felons, that's not reason enough for them not to be able to vote if they still owe money, because certainly everybody should pay up as a result of their crime, but that should not interfere with their ability to vote. Just the other day, I signed a bill called crowdfunding to make it possible for Delawareans to invest in local emerging companies. So we got a lot of important work done. That being said, I think we still face some issues around the budget, around how much health care is costing the state, how rapidly it's increasing, that we're going to have to deal with. And I would have liked to have been able to deal with that. We did make progress about 5 years ago on that front, but I think unfortunately we're going to have to make more progress. I would have liked to have been the governor to get that done, but I think that's going to now have to be the work of the next governor.
So healthcare, one loose end. Any other loose ends you wish would have been tied up?
Well,
Death penalty, maybe?
Which
Death
one?
penalty, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's something that I think in the end that will change. This is something I've thought a lot about over the years. I served on the Board of Pardons for 10 years and dealt with many, probably 7 or 8 death penalty cases, and it's something that I've had a chance to learn a lot about. And I did about, earlier this session, maybe last year, I came out in support of a repeal of the death penalty. I would have liked to have seen that happen. I think at some point it will.
So one of the things you mentioned on June 30th was the work being done on the Wilmington Education Initiative. Are we closer to finding some sort of resolution for how we educate kids in the city?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I think it's still alive. It could have died on June 30th. I would have liked for us to be, one step further ahead. I did allocate some money in the budget, $6 million. But in the end, that's not going to be spent in this next year because the General Assembly decided they wanted some more information before signing off on the final plan. The bottom line, and this has been true, I graduated from Newark High School in 1978. Just a few months later, kids in Wilmington started to be bused down to Newark. And these kids in Wilmington, frankly, are disenfranchised because, first of all, they're disenfranchised with respect to representation on the school boards that oversee their education. But it's incredibly difficult if you're a single parent in Wilmington without transportation to get down to Newark to see your kids' teachers or to go down to extracurricular activities. And this is something that we've got to change. I feel very strongly about it. I think the Wilmington Education Improvement Commission, under the extraordinary leadership of Tony Allen, did really important work, and I'm hoping that that will continue and that these kids finally will see a change.
Yeah, it's tough because, the schools want more parent involvement, but yet there are tons of obstacles in the way to increase that involvement.
There is, and particularly for these families.
So politics now, the Republicans are anointing Donald Trump as their nominee beginning on Monday, and then a week later, the same will be done for Hillary Clinton. Are you going to be out campaigning for Hillary? Or?
I'll do whatever the campaign would like me to do. I'm a fan, and I'm an enthusiastic fan. I think she'll be a great president. I think she'll surround herself with really good people. I think she's got good judgment, and I think she'll be very effective. So I will do whatever I can. I would do whatever I can to stop Trump from getting into the White House, but I'll certainly do whatever I can to get Hillary Clinton into the White House.
How do you see the fall campaign shaping up? Do you think it'll be pretty ugly, or just...
It sure seems like that. It sure seems like we are on a path to a lot of ugliness, which I think is unfortunate. And it's one reason that people get so turned off from politics. But Trump made his entire primary campaign about belittling, demeaning, and humiliating other candidates. And there's no reason to think that will change now. And so, hopefully, when we get through that, and hopefully with Secretary Clinton in the White House, the president and the Congress will focus on the people's business.
Congressman John Carney just filed, and so, are you going to be doing any kind of public endorsement of him, and will you be campaigning for him?
I'll do, again, whatever he wants. I publicly endorsed him, I think, long before he actually became a candidate. We know each other very well. We've had a great working relationship since he's been a member of Congress, even, frankly, extending before that. But I think he's been a really good congressman. He's managed in a very difficult environment in Washington to get a lot of stuff done. And I think he comes into this race with a lot of advantages. He understands state government really well. He knows how the legislature works. I think he's got a real clear vision about where he wants to take the state. I think he'll do a great job.
And finally, thought about life that you and Carla have next year once all this is done?
Well, thinking about it, but haven't really done much about it. The last time I was here for an interview, I said I might be looking for a job as a camera person to take the place of some of these, these guys, Gene,
Yeah.
Charlie, getting a little older, I think, and
Still
but no
interesting?
no age discrimination,
Yeah.
no age discrimination here. But I don't know. Hopefully I have no idea what opportunities will be out there, but this has been such a fantastic opportunity. I have loved serving as governor. All good things will come to an end, and I think it's great, for the state that somebody new will come in with fresh perspective and, maybe a different approach, and that'll be good. I really want the next governor, frankly, to do great, because this is my home. We're going to continue to stay here, and hopefully we'll be able to build on the work that we've done and take it to the next level.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing you around. So, Governor Jack Markell, thank you again so much for your time. We will probably see you in Philadelphia and again here on First in the coming month. You can watch all of this interview online at newsworks.org/Delaware.